What's up, my dudes? Got us another MX Simulator guide video, finding the flow, dog. This is probably the... I don't even know how to explain it. It's like this weird, really deep into the pro level thing that starts to happen, and you start to realize how important it is when you really get into it. But it's everything. I mean, finding the flow is everything to racing in this game. It's the entire thing about it, because you can be the fastest guy in the world, but if you go out there and you're just not in that flow like that, you guys know they talk about that in real life supercross. It just didn't find the flow. It just didn't get the flow. You know what I mean? That's the same difference with MX Simulator. You have to get in the flow, and it's this like unexplainable feeling. I don't even know how to even explain what it feels like when you're in the flow, but when you get in it, it's literally like you couldn't crash if you tried. You know what I mean? And it's like your brain is just naturally doing it. You're somehow 100% direct, one with the bike. Everything's just moving exactly like you want to with little to no effort, and you're not crashing, and you can just go faster and faster and faster, however fast you want to go, and it's like nothing can go wrong. And I don't even know really how to explain that, but when you find that, when you get in that, oh god, dude, like you'll go from 10th to 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, you'll move right up the ladder of everybody, because you can tell when people aren't in the flow, right? They're just not feeling it on the bike, and it's just such an important thing because of how important the consistency is, right? That flow aspect of it makes it to where everything's like river flowing, it keeps that consistent forward momentum to the front, and once you find that, then that's when you can really start racing well. Now, I think there's a lot of different little aspects that goes into finding this sort of secret flow, right? And I've been in this mode a couple times in racing, quite a few times actually. I was in that mode on this particular round right here when one of the rounds this year when I did pretty well in the main event. I was in the flow on that track right there. So basically, it's like a combination of, you've got to have your mental heart rate up enough. You don't want to be tired, you know what I mean? You've got to like get yourself hyped up enough for the race, but it's got to be done at a precise time. And one thing I've learned is you don't want to over practice and override right before the race, because you tire yourself out a little bit. You burn yourself out. Sometimes I do that where I'll go in there and I'll warm up for an hour before practice even starts, before qualifying even starts, and then you qualify for an hour, so that's 2 hours straight of playing it right before you pro race. And then the main event itself is so long that a lot of times you wear your mental out before you even get to the main event. A lot of times and if you don't have that fresh mental quick state of mind, like I'm talking about, a sharp state of mind, if you kind of wear that edge off by playing the game too much right before the race, then it will take you out of your flow. That's one thing I've learned with it, and I'm really going to be able to improve on that next year. That whole really not playing it too much right before the race. And this, you guys know I'm always talking about play MX Simulator more and more and more. The more you play it, the better you get. Yeah, that applies to every other day except the actual race day, okay? If all your practicing and all that crap that you're doing better be done before the pro race day even starts, or you're way behind, dog. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to the actual race day itself, you really don't need to put that much time on it before you start qualifying, because you're going to get an hour in on qualifying. That's a world of plenty of time to get warmed up and all that. And then when you go on that, it's this bizarre thing of between the heat races and your heat race getting in there, and then you got to wait the time from your heat race through the LCQs, depending on if you have to ride in the LCQ or not. Then you got to wait through all the 250 main event, and if they have any little hiccups with it, it could be even longer time that you have to wait. So it's all about trying to peak and spike your actual energy at a certain point in time right before the race and everything's just got to click right? And sometimes you can actually get yourself too hyped up. You can get yourself too going. Like, you know what I mean? I've done that a couple times where I'll drink like a coffee, or I'll like go kind of nuts and drink like a Red Bull, or drink something crazy that I don't normally, I wouldn't normally do, to try to get myself extra hyped up. And sometimes you can do that to a point to where you kind of get scatterbrained and then you get out of the flow, right? So, but for me, I try to drink some tea before the race, and I've tried to do all this different combination of stuff, but, I mean, careful on them Addies, boys. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, basically, I don't know how to explain it, man. There's just, it's like your brain just gets locked in, and it's like your lap times are just like literally 0.2 seconds off every lap. You started to kind of see it right here in this gameplay, right there about lap 5 through 8. You could kind of see me getting in the flow, and it's weird because when you're in the flow, it's like you don't even have to hit big lines, and you're still going to go fast. You're still going to get a fast lap time. You know what I mean? Because you're going fast everywhere. You're carrying momentum. You're not like stopping and worrying about this jump or that jump. It's that flow. You're not hesitating, and that's like obviously probably one of the biggest keys to motocross, supercross that there ever has been. Right? Is the no hesitation, dude. I mean, that's literally everything to it, man. And MX Simulator is no exception to that. It's so important in this game. And the few times that I have gotten in the flow, I mean, you guys remember that 2000, I think it was 16, one of those races that I did really good in, came across finish line in 4th on it in the main event. That was like my first real like awesome race that I had in a actual main event like that. But I was like jumping over Hunter Route and shit. It was insane. That one particular track I was on there where I was hitting a little bit of a bigger line than a couple other dudes were hitting. But I was like right there in that race flow, and when you get in it, man, you just get so, it's literally like I'm saying, you couldn't crash if you tried. And I think it comes down to the comfortability of your setup. That's a big aspect to it. You want to find a setup that is comfortable enough to where you don't even have to think, right? You've got the perfect amount of, like where your back tire will brake in the corner traction, where you can slide with the power. You don't want to have a gearing that gives you too much traction, because then you won't be able to slide like you want to. And it's weird because there's certain gearings that'll feel really good. It'll be like, oh, dude, I can't slide at all with this gearing. I've got traction everywhere. This is awesome. This feels great. But where it'll kill you sometimes is in the corners, where you'll have too much traction. You won't be able to naturally slide anymore. It's all like there's just so many different ways you can adjust that bike, and little intricacy things that you can adjust on it and make things different. And it's weird because, like, you can have a setup and feel like, dude, I'm going wicked fast on this setup. Like, I can hit this crazy big line that I can't hit on any of these other setups. You might think that in your head, but it may not be as good as that other setup that's more comfortable overall in general, right? So that's really the key to it, guys, is finding that comfortable setup. Not necessarily the fastest, not necessarily the best for hitting some weird, one-of-a-kind stupid obstacle, or something that's just really good in the whoops but not good anywhere else. You want something that just when you get on the setup, it's like the bike just does what you want it to do. You know what I'm getting at? And it's like you don't even have to think about it. And it may, like, that's the tricky part about it, is you may get a certain setup and it may feel like, oh, it's doing exactly what I want it to do over the whoops, but it may not do it in the corners. You get what I'm saying? Or it may do really good over corners, but it may be shit in the whoops, or whatever the case may be, but it's that you've got to find that setup that it may not feel as good in certain areas, but it's just overall in general, it's good enough everywhere, to where you sort of split the seams between the like having to even think about riding. You know what I mean? It's like that becomes seamless, right? It becomes like you're just riding the bike. There is no, oh man, hope my setup can handle this jump, or oh man, these whoops are scaring me, or oh man, this jump feels weird with this kind of suspension, or oh man, my stability is not low enough, or oh whatever the case may be. Once you find that comfortable setup, it's like you don't even think about it. You just get on the bike and go. Every corner just feels like the bike's sliding just like you want it to. You get on the brakes, everything's braking just like you want it to. You're coming over jump faces, the bike's reacting just like it feels natural to you, like you would naturally come over that jump in your head. It's just naturally doing it like you think it would. You can go through the whoops like you want to, and it may eat your ass up in some areas, but it's all about finding the setup that's like good for a general all the way around the board, every aspect of the track. That's what you're really trying to find the flow. But really, if you can get her set up good for them corners on a supercross track, you'll be popping off, because that's really where a lot of the flow comes from, is your corners, because obviously that's where you're going to be carrying speed from, and just haven't been able to get on that throttle and get that natural spin around the corners like you expect the bike to do in your head. That's really, really going to help you. But yeah, guys, flow is so important on MX Simulator, and I think it's damn near more of a mental thing than it is anything. And I know that sounds stupid, but that's really, there is such a mental aspect to this game. There's so many races I could have done so much better in had I just been a little bit sharper mentally, or like got a little bit better sleep the night before, or chilled off on the Coors Lights, make Supercross great again the night before. You know what I mean? Like if I'd have just prepared myself mentally a little better for the race, things would have went a lot better to get into the flow. Because any one little kind of a chink in your armor mentally is going to totally kill your flow. You could be the fastest guy in the world, but if you have any little mental, some dude's getting on your nerves, or you're thinking about anything other than just the flow of the race, then it's going to be hard to get into that flow. And it's weird, because when you're in the flow, it's almost like you're not even thinking. You know what I mean? It just naturally, mind muscle memory thing it's doing everything without even thinking about it. And that's what I'm saying. It becomes effortless. It becomes like you're not even having to try. And it's like, what the hell? What is going on here? Like all of a sudden I'm just going like this, and like some of the previous races, I would have had to try my little heart out to be doing this right here. But now it's like I'm just naturally doing it without even trying. And a lot of times, just not wrecking can keep your flow going a lot better. A lot of times, staying out of the carnage, staying out of the first corner carnage, trying not to get a full dismount pop off. A lot of times I've totally killed my flow of a race just by having one little wreck, or one dude will run into me 3 or 4 times in a corner, and then your flow is just gone. Because you've got to have that flow of the race to keep everything going, and that's what makes the difference on MX Simulator when it comes to the results at the end of the race. It's that every corner, every lap, no pop-offs, that the flow of the race, that's really what does it. But yeah, guys, hope I kind of explained a little bit of how to get into the flow. It's a lot of a mental game. It's a lot of a repetition, mind muscle memory. You've done it so many damn times, your brain just automatically does it. And that's the only way you can do it, really, is you've done it literally thousands and hundreds and thousands of times. You've hucked a jump with that certain kind of peakness, or you've hit a bowl corner with that exact kind of a radius to it or whatnot, and you've had that exact distance of a jump where you had to get on the throttle that certain amount, or you've hit that certain kind of whoop section thousands of times. So then that's how it starts just happening naturally, right? And then when you get to where you're hitting every section on that particular track like that naturally, then you're in the flow, right? Then that's how you get in the flow like that. And then if you can avoid the early crashes and the wrecks and stuff and all that, then you can really ride to what I like to call your true potential, your true speed, your true race pace. A lot of times you can't even perform to what you actually can do because all these other weird outside sources, like your mental game's not on. Maybe you're tired. You're a little bit tired. You need to boost your energy levels up a little bit. Drink a couple gallons of tea, dog. Do something like go do some damn jumping jacks or something. Get your heart rate going. It makes a hell of a difference, guys. It really does. But you don't want to get yourself too hyped up, right? Don't drink like 5 Red Bulls right before the main event. you know, because then you're going to be scatterbrained, what I like to call it, where your brain can't even focus anymore because it's just like in this la you know, it's in this like la sugar high land and ginseng and all that bullshit land, and so you can't even hardly think straight. It's weird. It's like where your mental focus locks in with what your fingers are doing on the controller. You know what I mean? It's like your mental 100% locks into that, and your eyes and what they're seeing. All three of those things lock together in perfect harmony, and it's just effortless. It's just like, dude, I could go faster if I wanted to. I could hit this big jump if I wanted to, and I'm not gonna wreck. And it seems like when you're in the flow, even if you do have a little mistake and you kind of like bounce off a jump or bounce off the track, it's like you might lose a little 0.5 of a second because you're not gonna pop off, or you're not going to wreck bad. It seems like when you're in the flow, you're in full control of the bike to the point to where, and you're in the full focus mode to where odds are you're probably not going to have that bad of a wreck. You know what I mean? You're going to have a quick little slip down and then pick the bike back up real quick, but you'll be right back on it. But yeah, it's a big aspect of MXM, guys. It's definitely something I think gets overlooked. The before the race preparation, the mental side of it, the getting your energy levels up, the not overriding before the race. There's so many little elements like that make such a massive difference to being able to get in that flow and actually race your true potential race pace. And all you can really do is keep racing more, man. I mean, that's the only thing you can do to try to get into that flow. That's really all there is to it. And then the nerves that come with like leading a Pro RF 450 main events on another level of feeling, right? Like a lot of people don't even understand that. Even the 250 racing is nowhere near the pressure and the 450s, man. It's on another level on MXM. I mean, I've rode both classes before, and I'm telling you, the 250 class, especially in Supercross, only having half of the competition being split between East and West, it's not like the 450s, man. The 450 class, especially at the first half of the season where there's a lot of people racing, it's a little more extreme, a little more hardcore, it's no joke to get a top 5 in a race. I mean, you're on it. You know, you're on it and you're flowing damn near that entire main event to get a top 5, right? And to get like a podium, you're in that flow that whole race, and you've gotten a good start, and you've avoided a bunch of the early first lap crashes and stuff like that. But that pressure it adds, it's unexplainable. I mean, really, when you've played this game as much as you have to play it to even get to that point where you can lead a main event, Pro RF 450 main event, and you finally get to that point and you're leading, and it's like, oh my God, it's so hard to keep your mental head top on, you know what I mean? It's just so difficult to do that. And it's unexplainable until you get into that position. And then it becomes, you have to just continue to put yourself in that position more and more and more and more. And then you finally get comfortable in that position, you know, but you have to just race over and over and over and be up in the front pack over and over and over. And then you start feeling comfortable and feel like you belong there. And then you can get into that full blown flow like that, you know. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Don't forget, if you want to go check out some of my other MX Simulator guides, that's on my front page on a playlist. It's literally called MX Simulator Guide. So you can go on there. I'll try to leave a link to that playlist down below in the description and in a comment if you guys want to go check that out. But yeah, dudes, hope you guys enjoy these guide videos on MX Sim. One of the big pillar things I've always done on my channel, and I really, really love doing it because all the knowledge I've learned on MX Simulator, I love to pass that on to you guys as much as I can and try to help you guys out, because it just helps the game grow. You just help the beginners get better at it and help them learn and progress, and it's really cool. And I think it's something people really enjoy and get interested in watching, you know, coming from a perspective of somebody that has gotten top 5s in main events and stuff like that. So, yeah, guys, either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dude.